Coming up on Theater Talk.
We should touch on the fact that a lot of the big stars were not nominated.
I do think it was a backlash because last year we were sitting here complaining about how anybody famous went home with an award.
God, we are so influential. It's incredible.
You know,
now we're complaining nobody famous was nominated.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm the show's producer, Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
So, Michael, it's been a pretty good season, and now we are up to the time of the Tony predictions.
It's time for our annual predictions, who's going to win, who's going to lose, and we've brought a panel together of so-called experts who are usually wrong year in and year out, so we'll give them a chance to have a better track record this year. We're joined, as always, by Patrick Pacheco from New York One and the Los Angeles Times. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
Our good friend Michael Musto from the Village Voice. Do you have a book coming out again?
A year with Frog and Toad is all I care about. Was that this year?
That is a blast from the past. How long did that run on Broadway? 2 weeks or something like that?
Long enough to not get nominated.
A real loser. And Jesse Green from New York Magazine, who I must credit for coming up with the great, or asking Mary Rogers, the great quote about Arthur Lawrence, who died recently. When you called Mary Rogers, Arthur's friend for many, many years, what was her quote to you?
Call me back when he's dead.
And he's now dead. Did you call her back?
I did.
And what did she say?
No comment.
That's what she said to me, and that's what she said to the New York Times.
She's a smart woman.
Yes, go to work on her and see what you can pull out. All right, gentlemen, so let's start with the big categories.
Best Play.
And the nominees are?
Good People by David Lindsay-Abaire. Jerusalem by Jez Butterworth. The Mother with the Hat, Stephen Adly Gurgis. And War Horse by Nick Stafford.
Patrick, it strikes me that the favorite here is War Horse, that came from the National Theater. It's now at Lincoln Center. But I am hearing a little bit of buzz, a little bit of momentum for Stephen Adly Gurgis's The Mother with the Hat. What are you picking up in this race?
It was a great year for drama, one of the best, I think, in the long, long time that I've been covering theater. So any of these are really worthy nominees. But I think that if there's anybody that will give War Horse a run for its money, it's probably Good People more than the other two.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I think it's first of all, it's a brilliant drama written by David Lindsay-Abaire. It's very funny. It features a tremendous performance, and I think she's going to win, by Frances McDormand. And it's just the kind of play that I think the Tony voters really embrace outside this stunning theatricality of War Horse. I think the other two plays are incredibly, worthy as well. I just don't think that they have the same appeal to the average Tony voter.
Michael, if you put War Horse against Good People, you've got a British play against an American play. Is there anything to a possible British backlash out there?
No, when you put British, it always seems better, don't you think? And War Horse is going to win for all the wrong reasons, because it seems really good. It actually is not a great play. It's kind of banal. It's a children's story. Yeah. And by the way, the acting is high school level, except for certain exceptions. But people are conflating in their mind the staging with the play. The staging is brilliant. It's an absolute theatrical event. The goose is fantastic, by the way. And,
but high school level.
No. It's when the horse came at me through the barbed wire, I was out of my seat applauding. And by the way, Mother
with the hat?
Courage with the Hat or whatever. It is developing steam because everyone loves it across the board, but it would be weird to say the winner is, we can't say the name.
Right.
So
Jesse, where do you come down on this race?
Well, first of all, I think people are realizing that the strength of War Horse is its theatricality, and I think people, even voters for the Tonys, are possibly capable of making a distinction between that.
Not since they cut us out.
And I think I think Good People would be the one to sneak in. Isn't that what you were saying, Patrick?
Yes.
But
yeah.
I do want to say there were 14 new plays this season, 11 revivals, 25 plays. At least 15 of them were quite good, or at least had something worthwhile about them. There's only one that was a total blowout.
What was that?
High.
Oh, poor High.
Doubt Junior.
But there's a second team you could have filled these spots with pretty easily with Bengal Tiger. Many people play Pitmen Painters, other things like that. But I do think
Lombardi.
I do think
Lombardi. What are you talking about?
I think Lombardi's a well-crafted play, and I would beg to differ. I think that War Horse is a well-written and a well-crafted play, and it's simple, yeah. And I don't think you can separate the fact, the stunning theatricality from the craftsmanship of the play. I think they go hand in hand.
Good People also speaks to the times in America. It's astonishingly well put together, dramatic presentation, and it speaks to the decline of the economy, what's going on with most of the citizens in this country, and I think that the voters may respond to that. It's something that can play all over the country in every high school and community theater.
It's also interesting because we've complained a lot over the years, and certainly the critics have complained a lot over the years about Broadway's inability to address current issues, and particularly class issues have been nowhere seen, generally speaking, and this one hits that right on the head and does so beautifully.
I would say only I'm a Mother Courage, I like that, with a hat fan, and that's the play that if I were a voter, I would be voting for. But I think Warhorse has something sort of in the business going for it, in that it has a big national tour coming out. And recently here in New York, all of the people who present these shows on the road were in town, and Warhorse put on a big lunch for them, and the horse puppet came in, and people were touching
And ate all the food. It was grazing away.
And all I heard about was, oh, and they brought the horse puppet in, and I said, did you people see The Lion King? There was an elephant puppet. It's the same principle. Haven't you seen this stuff before? But I suspect it's going to be Warhorse. So push comes to shove, you say?
I say Warhorse, but I think it's terrific that Mother with a Hat has the success it is.
It's going to be extended too.
Yeah.
Warhorse.
I think Good People will slip in.
I agree with Jesse.
But I also agree that Mother with the Hat is a fantastic new play.
Yeah. The next category?
Best Musical, The Book of Mormon, Catch Me If You Can, The Scottsboro Boys, Sister Act.
Patrick, I know your favorite show in this category is Sister Act. Do you think this can pull it
I
off?
love hip swiveling, disco dancing nuns. It warms my heart.
I would have loved High with Kathleen Turner.
I think Charles Busch does a great job with nuns. Well, I think we all agree here that Book of Mormon is going to sweep in many of the categories, including this one. But again, these are pretty good shows. But I think Book of Mormon is by far and away the winner in this category.
Well, I agree it's the winner, absolutely. And I would, if I were voting, I guess I would say it was the best musical. It certainly is brilliantly put together.
You seem a little hesitant, though, about
Well, I am a little hesitant. It's just an odd feeling I have that although I think it's the best musical and I surely will win, in terms of the individual components of it, I would in almost every case vote for someone attached to one of the other musicals, which is an odd phenomenon. Not that there's anything wrong with the individual components of Mormon, or else you wouldn't have the success that it is. But as I look at the other categories, I would give Mormon the top prize and spread the others around.
Michael, this kind of happened with Ragtime and Lion King in that race years ago, where I think Ragtime won book and score, and then Lion King won best show. Do you think that could happen here? Or?
There is no horse race here. The horse race is Warhorse. It's Mormon all the way. Sister Act is a rote, if enjoyable, show that vulgarizes the movie. In the movie, they kind of did hand gestures and sang, "I will follow him." In this show, they're wearing lame habits, rapping and talking Yiddish and bumping their pelvis. Okay, it's fun. Is it art? No. Book of Mormon is a brilliantly crafted show that manages to mock merciless fun of all of its targets while making you beam with admiration. You like everyone on stage, even these horrible missionaries who are lying to these pathetic villagers.
I do want to put in a word, though, here for Scottsboro Boys, since I liked it very much, and it's the last show that John Kander wrote with the late Fred Ebb. It only lasted a few weeks on Broadway, but there's some talk that it might win for score. It might beat Mormon for score. Is there anything to that, Patrick?
I think it's a strong chance, actually, because they say that there are still some other Kander and Ebb shows out there, like The Visit.
The Visit.
And there may be one other one, I'm not quite sure, that may yet have it. But I think it's a terrific score.
Yeah.
It did get nominated for 12 Tony nominations,
That was
which I think
astonishing.
the amount was a
For
surprise.
a show that lasted 3 weeks on Broadway.
Absolutely. And I think the Tony voters will want to honor it in some way. And this is the best and most likely category in which it would win.
Do you agree, Michael? There might be a tip of the hat to
Well,
Kander and Ebb?
commencing in Chattanooga was a breakout hit, but no, it was a great score. Better musically than lyrically, I think, maybe because the guy died halfway through. But God, I'm awful. But I think it's going to be a Mormon sweep in so many of these categories, and Mormon's a terrific score that manages to be funny and has the breakout "I Want" ballad. It has every type of song in there,
Right.
all beautifully pulled off. So it's going to be Mormon.
Before we move on, is Catch Me going to pick up anything? I mean, I admire that show more than I like it. It seems a kind of disappointing show by Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, who wrote Hairspray.
Well, honestly, I think the score should have been nominated. I thought it was one of the best scores of the year. It will probably win for orchestrations. I know how much we care about that.
They're going to run 4 years on that award.
And I don't know. There's no chance of it winning for Best Musical, which is the other main category that it's nominated in. And maybe Norbert Leo Butz has a chance.
Yeah,
Anyone think so?
It's an extremely competitive year.
Yeah.
I mean, extremely competitive. It was competitive to even coming up to the nominations. But I think that it's very ambitious. I think it was a very ambitious show. I think it didn't work entirely. But Tony voters generally, and critics for that matter, don't give points for degree of difficulty if you don't pull it off. You just don't get points for it.
Sorry you didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, you didn't stick the landing. But I think that its 4 minutes on the show are important insofar as, the proverbial tired businessman show. If they trot out those gorgeous girls in William Ivy Long's gorgeous, sexy costumes, it could pick up a lot of business that would ordinarily go possibly to...
It is true. Mormon does not have the the classic chorus girls in slinky outfits numbers as Catch Me does.
And in any case, it will be sold out for months.
Yeah.
So if Catch Me If You Can pick up the next level of tickets.
The spillover, yeah. You were going to say, Michael?
It does have some half-naked villagers right out of National Geographic, so there's a market for everything.
Teenage boys.
Should we move on, perhaps?
All right, next category, please.
Best revival of a play. Arcadia, The Importance of Being Earnest, The Merchant of Venice, The Normal Heart.
With a shotgun to the head. Michael, the one that came in at the last minute, The Normal Heart, a revival of Larry Kramer's great play about AIDS, that seems to have a lot of momentum behind it now.
It does. Everyone thought Merchant of Venice was going to be the winner, but it looks like Normal Heart just exploded. And I just interviewed Ellen Barkin, who plays the doctor. She's probably going to win featured actress.
You have to tell gay men to stop having sex.
And she said, which I agree with, when it first opened in '85, this play was just thought to be Larry Kramer's polemic, his rant. When you see it now in this brilliantly done production, it's a witty, human, engaging, emotional play. It's funny, it's everything. The audience is just in a daze by the end of it. You can barely applaud. So I think it's a shoo-in to win.
Jesse, I remember you interviewed Larry Kramer a few years ago for New York Magazine. Have you spoken to him at all since the success of Normal Heart now?
Oh, he doesn't talk to people like me now that he's such a success.
You've been dismissed.
What you can say about Larry, I mean, I think he was very happy for about a minute. And then,
That's about as long as Larry.
and then he was back out there handing out his letters to the young people coming to the show.
Yeah,
God
we should
bless
say
him.
that he goes to the theater at night and he hands out. Well, I haven't read the letter. Do we know what the letter
It's
is?
a letter that is explaining that AIDS isn't over, and that there's still no leadership. There's still millions and millions of people. I mean, it's classic Larry, and he's out there giving it up.
But now he's gotten them to put it in the playbill.
Yeah.
But he still goes some.
Oh, he
some
still
nights
goes,
and,
yeah.
and hands
And
it
hands
out
it out.
himself.
Because it's that same dichotomy of egomania that Larry is so famous for, and also this Jeremiah, that is out there beating the bushes, and there's something really wonderful about him as a classic New York character.
I think this is one of the reasons this revival works so well. The direction and Joe Mantello's performance, which we'll discuss, I assume. It's the most like Larry of any of the leads I've seen do the play, the subtlest, and the one that grows most into its anger. So it's not as off-putting at the beginning as the previous productions have been, and I think it's absolutely the best case that could be made for this play.
I was just going to ask you, is this play still a polemic, and is it weak because of that, or has it transcended that and has become a proper American classic?
It's a polemic. It's agitprop, but it's brilliant agitprop. I don't think you can kind of get around that accusation, but I think you can probably say that a lot of plays, some of the Shakespearean plays, are polemics or agitprop in terms of what they're trying to say. I think you have to really credit the co-directors, Joel Grey and George Wolfe, for casting it in the way that they cast it and just sort of the miraculous way that it came together. But as Jesse said, what takes the edge off of the polemic and the agitprop is this love story that's front and center between John Benjamin Hickey and Joe Mantello, both of whom are nominated. And I think that kind of comes forward.
We also have now a quarter of a century from when it was written to look back and say, oh my God, everything he said was right.
It's true. That he was right.
He
in
was a
everything.
visionary. At the time, it's like, oh, who is this screaming maniac? This will go
Let me
away.
ask you, you were there when this play came out originally. Was that your reaction to this play the first time time? Who is this?
No, I found it powerful from the beginning, but I thought it looked like he had stacked the deck so that the people who disagreed with him in the play were evil, and he was right about everything. But now you see, he was right about everything.
And
you
the
also
people
see-
he stacked the decks against are more nuanced characterizations now, and they don't seem so evil suddenly. They seem like people who have their own reasons for doing what they do.
But we think that's going to win, right?
Absolutely, and I think, and in possibly in other categories as well. What it brings back so immediately are those years where somebody would be diagnosed on Friday and be dead on Monday. I was in a gay man's health crisis buddy group with Joe Mantello, of all people, years ago in the early 80s, in 84, 85, and we would, come for our weekly meeting, and then 25 years later, he's playing Ned Weeks, aka Larry Kramer. So it was like, for some of us, older gay men, it's like a documentary. It's a home movie.
But the audiences are not only that category.
Yeah,
which is,
definitely.
An interesting.
There's
thing to
young
see.
people and women and
So we all think it's going to be Normal Heart.
Yes.
yeah.
I think
So
so,
my-
although we shouldn't ignore the fact that these other plays in this category, as well as others that did not make the category, were terrific productions.
Why don't we go to Best Actor in a Play, because that's also relevant
Wow,
to this. Best Performance by an Actor in a Play, Brian Bedford, The Importance of Being Earnest, Bobby Cannavale, The Mother with the Hat, Joe Mantello, The Normal Heart, Al Pacino, The Merchant of Venice, Mark Rylance, Jerusalem.
Just before we decide who's going to win here, I mean, I got to say, this is an extraordinary list of
Unbelievable.
actors. I mean, some of the finest performances I've ever seen all this year on Broadway.
And again, a whole other slate you could have filled with people who didn't get nominated.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I agree with you guys. I think we may be in agreement here. Joe Mantello, I mean, really comes in at the last minute and takes this. Michael? Do you
He's picking up a lot of steam, and by the way, Brian Bedford was brilliant, but probably should have petitioned to be featured.
Right, right.
In any case, I'm going to stick with the old choice that everyone had of Mark Rylance, because he had 2 shows this week. So you're not this season.
This week.
2 shows, this week, 3 shows today alone. But though you're not supposed to factor that in. But in Jerusalem,
He was in Labette
and Jerusalem. He's nominated for Jerusalem, and he's a force of nature. I mean, he's one of those ham-bone, show-offy, committed actors. He's like Olivier meets Belushi. He gives the kind of performance that you think Pacino's going to give.
not Jim Belushi.
Who I thought was quite good in
He
Born
was good.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, what about Al Pacino?
I thought he was brilliant.
I can't guess at all what's going to happen. I don't know what people do when they're faced with such a large number of terrific, unimpeachable performances. I wouldn't know what to do.
In any other season, all of these would be a lock.
Yeah.
Bobby Cannavale, again.
Bobby Cannavale is wonderful in The Mother with the Hat.
Absolutely extraordinary. But I think, along with Michael, that Mark Rylance certainly had it to me. He's arguably the greatest actor on the English stage right now in terms of versatility and power.
Yeah, but he's here in New York, and I think that oh, never mind.
Yes?
The English stage.
I think it's a bit of a toss-up, but I think what Mantello has going for him is that people haven't seen him act in a long time. This is his first time as an actor in, 15 years or something like that? Because he's left to become a highly successful director with Wicked and Glengarry Glen Ross. And I think he's reminded people of just what a good actor he was in Angels in America years ago.
Well, you put your finger on something else that may be one of the extenuating circumstances. He's made a lot of Tony voters a lot of money.
Yeah.
As the director of
Wicked.
Wicked.
Yeah.
A lot of money. And if you want to say thank you, this is one way to say thank you.
Don't think there are certain people in the industry who are quietly letting voters know that Joe Mantello's put money in your pockets, and that's the award for excellence in the American theater. All right, so you think it's...
I still think it's Mark Rylance.
Rylance.
Who I think will win? Probably Rylance.
Wow.
So, Best Performance by a Leading Actress in a Play, Nina Arianda, Born Yesterday, Frances McDormand, Good People, Lily Rabe, The Merchant of Venice, Vanessa Redgrave, Driving Miss Daisy, Hannah Yelland, Brief Encounter.
Michael, I have to ask you, do you remember Hannah Yelland?
I do, and I actually predicted her to get a nomination.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was wonderful. But I'm going with Frances McDormand, because even though the Tony nominating committee purposely went against big celebrities for the most part to get back at the Tonys for last year, the Tony voters are going to say, we love a celebrity, and she was terrific. I actually liked Lily Rabe, whatever her name is,
Rabe.
for Merchant of Venice.
Broccoli.
But it's not a side order at TJ O'Rourke's. But I'm predicting McDormand, and that's a fine choice.
Yeah. Jesse?
I just think it's incredible when you have a category where Vanessa Redgrave is sort of the also-ran. But I think McDormand will win, but I would be totally happy with Nina Arianda or Lily Rabe as well.
And Patrick?
I'd be happy with any of them, but I do think that it's definitely going to be Frances McDormand and a brilliant. Interesting enough, the Tony nominating committee gave good people only 2 nominations. This is the only other category that it's nominated.
That's right, play and
Play and this, and Tate Donovan deserved it. A lot of people deserved it.
There were so many good performances all across the board.
I think it's Frances McDormand, though. It's a pretty extraordinary performance, and she's one of the great actresses, really, of this country. Next category?
Best performance by a leading actor in a musical. Norbert Leo Butz, Catch Me If You Can. Josh Gad, The Book of Mormon. Joshua Henry, The Scottsboro Boys. Andrew Rannells, The Book of Mormon. Tony Sheldon, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
I would say the favorite here would have to be, as we said earlier, Norbert Leo Butz in Catch Me If You Can, but I think possibly Josh Gad, who plays the misfit, big fat Mormon in there, you know, one of those clownish kind of roles that does tend to win awards. Patrick, you?
I wouldn't rule out Tony Sheldon. Man in a Dress has a lot going for it often, and he's very good. And again, Priscilla sort of got the backhand from the Tony nominating committee, and I don't know if this is the way it works. But if I were, looking at Book of Mormon, it would be hard for me to choose between Josh Gad and Andrew Rannells, however you pronounce it. Really hard. So I don't know if that will split and allow Tony Sheldon to come in.
The big news, of course, Daniel Radcliffe was dissed. I could live with that. I mean, he was cute, but played it earnest as opposed to pretending to be earnest. I think the Mormon guys could cancel, and Norbert's already won. And if you see Catch Me, he's not really the lead. Aaron Tveit is the lead.
Aaron Tveit.
Excuse me. I'm going with Tony Sheldon because every year an older drag queen wins. Last year it was Douglas Hodge.
Are you going to go with Tony Sheldon?
That's what I wrote on my little piece of paper. But I also wanted to mention Benjamin Walker, who was not nominated from Bloody Jackson.
Who am I? I'm Andrew Jackson.
Wasn't nominated. Nobody remember what the play was.
Well, but it actually was nominated in some categories.
Could you stick to the nomination?
All right. Man in a Dress.
Really?
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Four Tony Sheldons. I'm going with Norbert Leo Butz, I think, for Catch Me If You Can.
You're asking what we think will happen, not...
Yes.
No, I know. I think it's going to be. All right, and we've got to wrap it up.
Best performance by a leading actress in a musical. Sutton Foster, Anything Goes. Beth Level, Baby It's You. Patina Miller, Sister Act. Donna Murphy, The People in the Picture.
Sutton Foster strikes me as someone, if she's nominated, she wins. I mean, she's the favorite.
Not true, though. She's only won once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the reality is she was totally miscast in this part. She doesn't do hard-boiled easily, and yet she won you over, and she's going to win because she's one of those showbiz automatons who accomplishes her mission like the kids in Mormon.
They're going to engrave that on the award. That's so nice. For best showbiz automaton.
The winner is Sutton. But there's something to what you say. I mean, I like Sutton Foster, but you do get the sense that, boy, when she's tapping out there, she's going to tap her brains out and your brains as well.
It's like the horse going through the barbed wire.
Oh, God, this is getting worse. The poor woman.
She was
What
terrific.
has she done?
She's brilliant, but she wasn't really cast correctly for that role.
I think she's going to win, and I think she perfectly well deserves to, as well as some other people in the category.
And Patrick, you think?
I think so. I think there's a lot of affection for the revival of Anything Goes. I think it's going to win Best Revival, and it's also going to win this.
Yeah. I think Sutton Foster as well. So, all right, we got to wrap it up. One last thing, though. We should touch on the fact that a lot of the big stars were not nominated. Daniel Radcliffe, we said.
Robin
Williams.
Chris Rock, Ben Stiller,
and Ben Stiller.
Kathleen Turner.
And Kathleen Turner. Oh, hello, hi. Is this because they just really were not these performances were not up to snuff?
Yeah, it was a really competitive year. I think that's the only reason. There was just a lot of competition for those slots. I don't think it had anything to do with this so-called backlash against the stars.
I do think it was a backlash because last year we were sitting here complaining about how anybody famous went home with an award.
God, we are so influential. It's incredible.
Now we're complaining nobody famous was nominated.
But I was very impressed by the Tony nominators this year, and I have to say I thought that they were going to give it to people just because they were somebody. And in the acting things, I thought no, they really really picked.
It was a
They picked
terribly
well.
difficult job, and
Yeah.
they did a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
Considering that the whole thing is ridiculous.
Right. All right, and the Tonys are June 12th, I think, at the
Yeah.
Beacon Theater, which everyone's complaining is too small, smaller than Radio City Music Hall. A lot of people won't be in there. Patrick, where will you be watching the Tonys?
I'll be
can't
in
get the Beacon.
I'll be in the press room blogging for
We
the
don't even
LA
know
Times.
where is the press room?
I don't know wherever they put it, but I'll be blogging with the LA Times as the awards are unveiled.
Where will you be
The
watching?
press room, which I hear is in the South Bronx. I'll be at home with my dear friends who really don't care.
and I will be at Radio City Music Hall.
And Spider-Man opens 2 days later.
Yes, and
I still say next year it's getting 2 nominations, lighting and sets.
And Patrick Page.
3 nominations.
Okay, well, I hope you all will come back the day after the Tonys and talk with
I've
us.
already booked it.
All right.
you come back to the day after Tonys to talk about what happened there, and we'll look at Spider-Man, the new one. So make sure you get in to see it. There are
Okay.
Plenty of seats
Got the
available.
invite.
All right.
Patrick Pacheco from the Los Angeles Times and New York One on Stage, Michael Musto from the Village Voice, and Jesse Green from New York Magazine. Patrick dropping his pencil there.
I'm just too
You're
excited.
stepping on my cue.
I'm just thrilled.
Thank you all for being our guests today on Theater Talk.
Thank you.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Loewe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the CORY and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy STRELSIN Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.